There you go. All right, so calling the meeting to order, May 4th, Yolo Transportation District Technical Advisory Committee meeting. Autumn will be joining us just momentarily. She had to step out for a minute. I guess we can move on to item number 2. Do we have any comments from members of the public regarding any matters not on the agenda?
No public comment.
We have no public comment. And next item is to approve the February 17th, 2026 meeting minutes. Do we have anybody who would like to make a motion on that?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion from Alan for Winters and seconded by Ryan. How do we do? Should we do this roll call vote?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you do that or do I?
I am good.
Okay.
City of Davis,
Yes.
City of West Sacramento,
Yes.
City of Woodland, City of Woodland.
I don't see it.
Yolo Solano Air Quality Management District. County of Yolo,
Yes.
Caltrans. Winters, City of Winters,
Yes.
and UC Davis.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Janine, I believe that Kim McKinney may be with the City of Woodland.
Oh.
Is that right?
I don't see, oh, okay.
I see her, but yeah.
Kim, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for being here, Kim.
Okay, so with that item concluded, brings us to the main agenda item for today's meeting, which is a presentation on and soliciting feedback from all of you on our preliminary budget and work plan for next fiscal year. Do you have any opening remarks you want to make before we hand it over to Chaz?
Just to say, we're really excited to present this budget and work plan to you. You will see that we've continued in doing a 5-year outlook, and to no one's surprise who's been paying attention, we do see for the first time since we started doing a 5-year outlook, a deficit, not this year, but in future years. So I'm sure that's going to be, a topic of conversation. I just want to acknowledge that up front. And I'm sure that Chaz will be talking about that as well. So we for sure have some challenges in the, coming our way. And I'm happy to have a conversation about that, but very glad that we're able to, thanks to some one-time funding, prevent service cuts for at least this coming fiscal year, and able to continue maintaining our service. But we do have some difficult conversations ahead over the next year as we approach that fiscal cliff. So with that, Chaz is going to start off talking about the budget, and then we'll have that conversation. Then I'll take over talking about the work plan for next fiscal year, which definitely includes some activities that are focused on that upcoming deficit. With that, I'll turn it over to Chaz.
Are you gonna share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
This is at page 17.
Is it of the PDF?
Or too big or too small for you to see.
Page 17.
Yeah.
There's page 17, but that's just.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Chas Federigo, Director of Finance and Administration. Thank you all for attending. I hope everyone is doing well. Today we're here to share our plans for our transit services for the fiscal year 26-27 and walk through some of the key changes reflected in this year's preliminary budget. So before we begin, I also want to briefly note that we did hold a successful budget workshop on March 9th. The workshop covered how YoloTD transit funding is used, how service costs are calculated and allocated, and the major cost drivers affecting YoloTD's operating needs. If you weren't able to join us, the workshop is recorded and the slides are available on our website under the March 9th board meeting. We aren't using slides today, as you can see, but if you have your preliminary budget up, we'll walk through it together. Next slide, Janine. All right, starting with a high-level overview of the preliminary 26-27 budget, we are projecting a $27.7 million operating budget with a $6.1 million increase as compared to the prior year. On the capital side, we're proposing a carry forward of $6.1 million in capital projects and about $193,000 in new capital appropriations and capital reserves contributions. On the service side, the budget includes one proposed modification to fixed route with corresponding adjustments to microtransit. Key budget updates reflect the new transit operations contract with MV resulting from a recent procurement. Operating costs are also updated to align with projected actuals and our market trends. And then salary and benefits adjustments and the addition of a new category to clearly identify one-time operating related expenses. Okay, next slide, Jeanine. There you go. Oh, you can stop at back down. You can stop that. I guess our pages are a little off. Can you go back to 21? There you go. All right, thank you. In administration, we show a 5% overall increase. Salaries and benefits reflect a 2.72 cost of living adjustment and increases in PERS and related benefits as a number of our vacancies have been filled since the prior year and costs are aligned with current levels. The budget also eliminates one vacant full-time equivalent position, which is the finance and administrative assistant position. Key updates include decreases in several line items due to the non-recurring operating expenses in the prior year, along with operating adjustments aligned to current cost trends. And then we're seeing one-time operating expenses included of approximately $30,000 for administrative office repairs and maintenance and $8,000 for the implementation of Civic Plus, a government technology platform that will be used for communications and board related documents. And then I'll just keep having you scroll, Jimmy, keep scrolling. Oh, you can go to the next page. Next page. Next. And then for fixed route, we have a 36% budget increase. This budget, as you have already heard, includes some restoration of Winter's Route 220, anticipated to begin in late January of 2027, with operating hours estimated at this time to serve from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Key updates reflect the new MV transit contract, which includes a 7% rate increase. It also includes several one-time operating expenses, including about $1.3 million for planning and multimodal related costs, $1 million in major vehicle maintenance, and startup costs associated with the transitioning of the new transit contract. Next slide, or next couple slides to microtransit. Keep going. Thank you. Oh, one. Thank you. For microtransit, we have about a 49% increase. This budget reflects only one service adjustment corresponding with the restoration of Winter's Fixed Route 220, anticipated in January of 2027. Key budget updates include the new transit contract, which again incorporates a 17% rate increase. The contract also is structured to include an annual fixed fee of approximately $551,000 and a per mile cost estimated in microtransit budget of $224,000. One-time operating expenses include $65,000 for major vehicle maintenance and $111,000 in startup costs, again related to transitioning to the new transit contractor. And a couple pages to paratransit, it should be in yellow right there. Thank you. For paratransit, we have a 10.9% increase, looking a little lower as compared to the fixed route and microtransit. This budget reflects a decrease in our estimated service hours to better align with recent operating trends and our actual demand. Updates also include the new transit operations contract increase, along with a per mile operating cost estimated at $260,000 this year. One-time operating expenses also include about $300,000 for major vehicle maintenance and $72,000 in startup costs associated with the new contract. And then Janine, if you can hop back to this step 23. I think it's still 23. And here's our table showing the STA and LTF per jurisdiction and how those costs are allocated. For 26-27, we are seeing a decrease in both major TDA funding sources, with STA revenues projected to decline $204,000, about 9.1%, and LTF by $830,000, which is about 5.3%. And as you know, STA funds are derived from the statewide diesel fuel tax and allocated to transit for planning and mass transportation purposes. LTF revenues come from a quarter of statewide sales tax and are intended to support and improve public transportation services within the region. For this year, STA is fully allocated to support the YoloTD administration budget. LTF will be shared between the jurisdictions and YoloTD. However, the allocation does differ from historical percentages retained by our jurisdictions. This reflects YoloTD utilizing approximately $1.3 million in additional LTF funds to support one-time operating expenses included in this budget. You can say that, Janine. Non-recurring operating and revenues. To improve transparency, our 26-27 budget now separates the non-recurring operating revenues and expenses from ongoing operations. This helps clearly distinguish temporary funding and one-time costs that are not expected to continue in future years. The expenses primarily represent initiatives, one-time initiatives and previously deferred operating needs that must be addressed in this year. And for revenues, non-recurring revenues consist mainly of our SB 125 cycles 2 and 3, and then non-recurring expenses include planning and multimodal initiatives, major vehicle maintenance, startup costs associated with the new transit contractor. And for those one-time non-recurring operating projects, there is a table at the end where the capital projects are. It's table 2.4, where it does say I don't know whether we changed the verbiage. Hold on, let me just see what it says again. This is the amount. You'll see there's about $1,095,000 in the capital 2.4 table that gives a little bit more detail of what those non-recurring operating projects are. They were subtracted from the capital budget because they're already reported in the operating budget. And then I'm going to scroll a little.
While she's scrolling, just that table 2.4 is on page 41 of your packet.
We talk to We can hop to page 34, or, one more. Oh yeah, yeah. And, so we're at the end of the capital tables where you're seeing the summary there. We can stay there. The budget continues, as far as capital projects, to invest in fleet, facilities and technology and long-term system planning, new project appropriations, ongoing funding for carryover projects and annual capital reserve contributions, to prepare for future major repairs and asset replacements. The budget proposes 5.4 in multimodal capital and planning appropriations, in addition to 1.1 million projects shown in the capital tables that are non-recurring operating expense projects as previously mentioned. And then onto the 5-year outlook, Jane. It's like the orange, if you keep scrolling, you can see. What do you do? Yeah, there you go. Thank you. For the current budget, the 25-26, we're not projecting to have a deficit in closing this current year. In 26-27, we assume that the service levels are maintained in future years based on the 26-27, and then VMT mitigation services beginning in 29-30, funded through self-supporting sources. Expense projections include annual inflators tied to the new transit operations contract, along with assumed increases of 2% for personnel, 3% for fuel and insurance, and 2% for other inflation-sensitive operating costs. On the revenue side, the outlook assumes no new one-time funding, a return to historical LTF allocations retained by the jurisdictions, and continued use of both annual and previously unspent formula funds to help stabilize operating budgets. It also assumes utilization of the 24 and 25 5307 UZA Sacramento discretionary share of funds. And after applying the funding solutions known to us today, 27-28 through 30-31, our outlook shows a growing deficit year over year. Open for questions.
You all just taking it in? I don't believe you that you don't have questions.
You mentioned returning LTF back to its current distributions. Can you expand on that a little?
Yes, in the 5-year outlook, because of this year, we're using a little more of the LTF funds for the non-recurring operating expenses. The assumptions in the 5-year outlook assume that it'll return to the historical percentage that the jurisdictions would normally retain, which is almost 50%.
Okay.
And maybe just to add a little bit more about those one-time uses. So, and Brian can really speak to these. Some of the one-time uses that we have are for where we have received discretionary grant funds for planning projects, but there's a local match requirement. Where essentially our LTF is really the only local match that we have that allows us to fulfill those. So we have a number of projects either we've already received the grant funding or we have grant applications pending. And if those grant funds are awarded, then we would need the matching funds from LTF in order to be able to receive those discretionary grants. But happy to kind of have Brian run through any of those if there's questions about each of any of those projects.
I have a question. Are you assuming that the service is going to stay the same with this budget, or is it the 80% reduction?
The services for 26-27 are proposed at the current level, which includes the restoration of Route 220 in Winters.
For the 5-year outlook, we've continued it at the 100% service level, just so you can see for, our board has not yet made a decision about whether or not we're going to be cutting that service. And so while it seems quite likely at this point that we'll be looking at some service cut, we wanted to show what it looks like through the 5-year outlook if we do maintain our current service levels.
Were you able to communicate with someone in City Hall in Winters to discuss funding budgets and stuff?
No, I mean, we sent out the budget to you all, and that included the city managers on April 30th, as per our kind of usual. But we have not had any response. But we certainly can do, some additional direct outreach to the city manager's office for any of the jurisdictions where that would be helpful. Just a reminder, comments are due, any comments that we receive, I think it's by May 15th, will be shared with the board, whether it's from you or your counterparts of the city manager's office, will be shared with the board at their board meeting on May 18th.
This is regarding an email a couple weeks ago that was sent to me asking about meeting and talking about stuff. And I said, that's not my job. So here are these people. That's what I'm asking about. Make sure.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Alan. Yeah. To clarify, that is to set up a meeting to get feedback on the service reduction scenarios that are proposed for Winters. So for the other jurisdictions that are on the call, we've already done this, right? We went to the Davis Transportation Committee. We went to the Mobility Committee in West Sacramento, drawing a blank on it. We've been sort of doing this different kind of dog and pony show on the different service reduction scenarios. And I think Winters is the last one. We were trying to do it at the 2x2 meeting. That was the original request, but the 2x2 was canceled due to attendance issues. And so Alan, our board chair and vice chair, Jesse Lauren, Lucas Frere, suggested that we just try to schedule the meeting. So we haven't heard anything back from them yet, but we'll likely be trying to move forward with that meeting and hope that you or someone else from the city can attend.
Yeah. Okay. Who sent that email to me? Was it Lola or
That was Janine.
Cindy?
Janine?
Janice? Okay. I'll see everyone tomorrow. I'll remind them to respond.
Great. Thank you, Alan. There's no other questions right now. We can transition to talking about the work plan. And I can run through the work plan briefly, and then, as the budget is percolating, if there's more questions, we can come back to that. Does that make sense?
Everyone.
Silence is consent.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Janine, would you share page 43 from the packet? And I want to apologize. It's my fault that we don't have slides today. I've just been really busy and didn't have a chance to review the slides that Chaz prepared for the budget, and didn't have a chance to prepare my own slides. So I take full responsibility for that, y'all. Thank you for your patience with us. It's been a busy time. Okay, so this is kind of a high-level summary of what's in the work plan, and then there's details on the following pages. So I'm on page 43, and then page 2, basically the rest of the packet, pages 44 through 51 are details on each of these. So I'm just going to kind of quickly talk at a high level, but then happy to kind of answer any questions or dive into the details on any of these. So this page is broken into new initiatives and multi-year priorities. And I think I'll go ahead and start with the multi-year priorities at the bottom because those are going to be quite familiar to you all. And then we'll go to the new stuff. So the first one, the first continuing multi-year priority, it starts educate, engage, and collaborate about potential future transit funding shortfalls and identifying solutions to address the fiscal cliff for transit. So we've been working on this for a while. As Chaz mentioned, she had a workshop that she presented to the board in March. We also have had several other workshops over the course of the year. In February, I presented a workshop to the board about what some options for future revenues may be, ways we could grow our revenues to help start to meet that fiscal cliff. If you haven't had a chance to watch that video or view the slide deck, those are both available on our website as well. But so really what this agenda or this work plan item is about kind of continuing to drill down into the, I think, 7 different options that we presented to our board in February for revenue. And talk with you all and other stakeholders about what's feasible. You know, we're having this conversation here in Yolo County, but this is also a conversation that pretty much every transit operator in California, if not nationwide, is having. And SACOG is also leading these conversations at the regional level as we and all the other transit operators in the Sacramento region are looking at these looming fiscal cliff issues. So there's on May 21st, the SACOG is having a board workshop on the transit funding fiscal cliff, which I think should be pretty interesting. So encourage those of you who are interested in learning more about kind of how this is playing out across the transit industry as a whole, to take a look at that. So that's that first continuing priority. Short range transit plan, you all know a lot about this. We're looking at final approval and phased implementation. The first phase of implementation this year includes, as Chaz mentioned, bringing back Route 220, which is the old fixed route bus service that connected Winters with Vacaville and Davis. What we found is that the demand for Beeline is just so high that we really think it would be better served by bringing back peak hour commute trips on the Route 220. So we assume in our budget that we'll be rolling that out. Our board members have been eager for that, but then there is a corresponding cut in microtransit service that is accompanying that, so that we're kind of living within our means. So that is the one SRTP implementation that we believe will be rolled out this year. The remaining changes to the SRTP are scheduled to take place in the following fiscal year, 27-28. And that's to give us time to sort through these fiscal cliff challenges and what service reduction scenario the board wants to approve, and what the impacts of that are likely to be. And it also gives us time to hopefully construct our new Woodland transfer point in downtown Woodland, which is going to fundamentally change the routing of our Route 42 as well as all of our Woodland services. So does it really make sense to implement a bunch of changes prior to that relocation? So really this year for the SRTP, aside from Winters, is going to be all about final approval of the SRTP, including which service scenario are we going to be implementing in the following fiscal year. I'm not going to talk as much about everything on this list. Those are the 2 big ones that I wanted to address because they're very relevant, obviously, to the budget discussion. But, the other multi-year priorities, no big surprises here. YoloTD, the new Woodland transfer point that I just touched on, which for those of you who missed it, it is now fully funded thanks to a grant from SACOG. The Yahtzee plan, completing the design work for priority segments, capital improvement plan and zero emission fleet transition plan, ongoing priority, and then transitioning to tap to pay and mobile payment methods and phasing out Connect Card, which we're doing in conjunction with the other transit operators in the region. So those are our multi-year priorities. Before I talk about new initiatives, let me just pause there and see what questions you have on any of those.
Was relocation of the transfer point initiated by you folks, or did the mall owner request it?
No, it's been initiated by us. It's actually been a priority, I want to say, for the last 5 or 6 years. We've been trying to get out of the mall due to some of the safety issues and the deterioration of the mall. I think they're happy. I think we're one of their last paying
Yeah.
clients. I think
We as residents of Woodland would sure like to see that place cleaned up. So I was hoping they were initiating some project and you weren't part of it, but doesn't sound like it.
Sadly, no. I wish they were. I wish, if anyone else from the city of Woodland is here and wants to speak about that, maybe they are, but not to our knowledge. Any other questions on our continuing work plan priorities? Okay, if not, I'll run through some of our new initiatives. So obviously you've heard a lot about this new transit operations contract. Several of you served on the RFP evaluation panel for that. I'm happy to say that the contract was signed on Friday. We are under contract with MV and they'll be on site starting next week to go through that transition process, and we're working with them. Also, there's a lot we need to do to wind down the existing TransDev contract, and all that work is underway as well. And so the next 90 days are essentially a startup period where we have both MV and TransDev will be on site. And on August 1st, MV will take over the keys and run the service, and that will be the end of the contract with TransDev. So a lot of work behind the scenes over the course of those 90 days and beyond, but particularly the next 90 days for that. Another new initiative is to prepare a countywide transportation improvement plan, or CTIP. This is to identify regionally significant capital projects in Yolo County. This is something that members of our congressional delegation, SACOG, and others have been asking for. It's essentially kind of what are the key capital project priorities in Yolo County. And we also want to get a better estimate of the funding need for maintenance and operation of the transportation system overall, including local streets and roads, highways, bike ped trails, not to mention transit operations, to really kind of we know that we're not the only one out there with fiscal challenges, and really wanting to better understand what the need is to improve coordination and funding competitiveness as we seek to identify other sources of funding to help improve improve and maintain our transportation system. We're also going to be going out and reprocuring our transit technology platform. This is what kind of is the underlying technology platform for our dispatch, trip booking, and real-time passenger information. Now that we have Beeline, we kind of have a separate contract for Beeline with a company called Rideco. But our long-time contract for our dispatch and real-time passenger info is with another company. We want to have a single integrated transit platform. Paratransit, frankly, is because of that existing contract, it makes it very hard for us it's a kind of a legacy system, and it makes it hard for us to modernize our paratransit by, for example, offering paratransit riders an app where they can book trips online and have real-time vehicle information. So this reprocurement will really particularly, I think, improve things for paratransit customers, but also just eliminate the redundancies to have a single technology platform that we can use for all three of our services. So that's kind of a in the weeds thing, but it's actually going to be pretty important, and I think will help make a difference for the quality and reliability and the data for our services. Some additional paratransit management and cost containment measures that have been kind of on the back burner for a while, but we're hoping to get through this year in terms of modernizing our application and eligibility verification processes, and right-sizing our zones where rides are available to align with where we will be offering service in the future, to make sure that we are only giving rides to folks who really deserve those rides, and to places where they are eligible to go. This is, our most expensive service to offer, and we think with better oversight, we'll be able to kind of contain some of the cost increases that we've seen particularly in the years since COVID. We're going to be launching new quarterly KPI reporting aligned with our SRTP and also our new MV contract, and preparing quarterly reports to better manage and report trends. We have a number of initiatives to improve financial analysis and cost allocation processes. And our board of directors have asked for an outing on the Route 42 and Beeline to experience the service, so we'll be organizing that. So anyway, that's some highlights of the annual work plan. There's actually more in there that I didn't talk about, but I'm happy to answer questions on any of those initiatives or anything else that you see in the work plan.
I got a question. On the tip, are you looking at doing kind of preparing this for the TAC or setting up a subcommittee? Or what kind of outreach or coordination are you expecting with the cities?
Yeah, we would expect to do that with members of each agency. So we need to kind of scope the project in a little bit more detail. Wasn't imagining using a subcommittee of the TAC to do it. I think it's, important to have everybody in the room at the same time for those important conversations. So we have some work to do in terms of developing the scope of work for the project, but the overall intent is to try to get, some kind of a sense of what our, most important capital projects are in Yolo County. So that, we can position those projects best for funding.
Sounds good.
Other questions on the work plan? You guys are a quiet bunch today. Is it the rain? All right, well, just to remind on the schedule, so next Monday, May 11th, our Citizens Advisory Committee will be getting a presentation, but lucky them, they will get slides. We'll make sure the slides are done by then. And then on May 18th, the board will receive and provide feedback on the preliminary budget and work plan. Now I see that May 29th is the deadline for member jurisdiction to share any requested changes in writing. Now that's in our bylaws. Before the board, before this goes for board adoption on June 8th. I will say though, if you have feedback prior to the May 18th board meeting, I think that's when it's frankly more helpful because that's going to be the opportunity for the board to kind of provide, informal direction to us on what they'd like to see us come back with in June for final approval. So please, I know there's a lot of information to work through here. To the extent you can get us your comments, I think I had said maybe May 15th. Which is the Friday before the board meeting, and that would be very helpful. And the sooner the better, so that we can incorporate that your concerns, your questions, your feedback, and provide that to the board well in advance. So there you have it. If there's any final questions on the budget work plan, I'll just want to thank Chaz and Brian and the whole team for all their work that went into this. I do have one other item that I want to discuss with you all, which is whether or not we want to continue meeting in a hybrid format or go back to Zoom meetings. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Thank you, Chaz, very much for all your work. So recently, as you all know, the state passed updated guidance to the Brown Act. And at the last YoloTD board meeting, our board approved new Brown Act guidelines that allow us to have our committees go back to Zoom only. If that is a preference, as you know, we're all sitting here in our boardroom while you guys are at your desks. And if that is the committee's desire to go back to fully remote meetings, we can now do that. So we'd just love to hear any thoughts that you all have. If you're all amenable, I think our recommendation would be to go to fully remote meetings, go back to fully remote meetings, I should say, so we can all see each other a little bit better and not have to bother setting up a boardroom. Any comments
Yeah, I
on
agree
that?
with that. It's not inconvenient for me. I'm in town, so. And I think people collaborate and we probably have more discussion if we weren't sitting at our desks looking at other things around us.
Oh, I think I'm saying the opposite, Alan.
Oh, okay. Well, then I disagree.
Okay. Well, because we've been in the boardroom and you guys don't make it here very often. So, so we don't want to force you to come to Woodlands. But we think the hybrid format is us sitting in this room empty and you guys being at your desk is probably not great. So I'm suggesting fully remote.
Autumn, it's a little hard to hear you. It's little hard to see your graphics and to communicate in this format. So I agree that if we were all on Zoom, it would be a lot easier.
Thanks, Jennifer.
I'll just add to Alan's point. I love getting together in person, but it doesn't make sense when some are and some aren't. So I'd say go Zoom, but if there is a purpose to gathering together in person, then require that of us and set the time aside. And it is special to get together. And maybe there's like an annual kind of effort to do that, but quarterlies or Zoom or something along those lines.
I like that. Thank you, Lucas. Other thoughts? I mean, we could go the other extreme. We could make you all come in person. Or maybe once a year. I kind of like the idea of once a year. That sounds nice. We could, bring in lunch and, all see each other's faces in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, I'm fine with either because I live in town and but I think for those that would have to come, I think it might be more convenient to meet remotely. But open to doing once a year too. I'm good either way.
All right. Thank you, Todd. Any other thoughts? Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to echo for most of them, fully by Zoom, I think works best. But I agree that we probably need to have a periodic meeting in person.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't we, we'll take that feedback back, and let's plan on the next meeting. I think our next meeting is in July. Maybe we can go to the long range calendar page. Yeah, the next meeting is in July, and then September. Why don't we plan on, having those meetings be on Zoom, fully on Zoom? And then we'll think about maybe whether the last meeting of the year, the first meeting of the year or something is it in person, and we'll bring in lunch and, have it be an opportunity for us to all kind of connect in person. I think that would be really nice. I will say it was really nice having you all here when we did interviews. Those of you who participated in the interviews for the transit operations RFP, just in part because it was just nice to spend the time together. So yeah, I like that idea.
What's the date on the next meeting?
Top of my head, do you know, Jane?
July 13th.
Please hold. July 6th? I don't see it.
Maybe it is just a September.
Well, it shouldn't be. We should have one in July.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Maybe we haven't sent it out for some reason. Okay, well, thank you for that, Alan.
Yeah, I just didn't find anything, so I was wondering.
Yeah, thanks for checking. Okay, we'll get a doodle pull out so we can get that scheduled. I wonder if we had challenges with getting it scheduled for some reason, but is it July? That's only 2 months.
Yeah, nothing quarterly is about it.
Yeah, that would be August, wouldn't it? All right, we'll figure this out and we'll send something out. Sorry, y'all.
On
Thanks.
September 15th in my calendar.
Is the next one?
Yeah,
That seems pretty far out. I mean,
I think because we changed it twice.
I see. I mean, quarterly from this would put us in August, which I know is a tough month with vacations and whatnot. Maybe we thought, oh, we'll just let it ride over the summer, but we'll regroup internally and we'll circle back with you guys about that, on whether or not it makes sense to have another meeting before September.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
Have a nice day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.